Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Construction Show by Crownsman. We're here filming episodes at CONEXPO in Vegas. We've got a special guest on today because Robert has been on the show a couple times with different members of his team from ZeroNox. Robert Cruess is the president and co-founder of ZeroNox, and we're going to talk about their expansion in the industry, some exciting news they have on a new merger. Lots to cover here. It's always a good conversation when they're on. And we're filming this episode at CONEXPO in Fenner Dunlop's booth. So a quick thank you to them. They're actually one of our full-scale partners for 2023. So you'll see them on multiple episodes. They're advertising on a lot of shows, including this one. And they'll be on Agriculture Now coming out shortly. So watch for that episode and go to FennerDunlopAmericas.com. Robert, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. Pleasure to be back.
Yeah, you kind of, thanks for kind of teeing it up so we could actually be here and do the episode. We've actually never met in person.
Right. Well, with COVID, right? You kind of have to do that.
Yeah, the web style. I mean, your business has. You're one of the people I meet a lot of people in a lot of businesses with this job. So, some people I don't want to say that they have it. They have the dedication to making a business happen. It was very clear from the beginning I was talking. You were one of those people. But you got some big news that I saw on LinkedIn that there's actually been a merger for the company, which must just be huge. Yeah.
And, to the point that you brought up, we happen to be in the right market at the right time, which is always awesome. And so the news, we haven't quite done the merger yet. What we've done is signed a business combination agreement with a company called Growth for Good Acquisition Corporation. And so we're going to be going public with that merger hopefully sometime in the summer of this year. So a lot of excitement on the ZeroNox side. Allows us to grow as a business, allows us to scale as a company. And of course, anytime that you find a partner that you want to be with long term, that's exciting as well to help grow what the mission is here at ZeroNox, which is to become this preeminent EV partner, to these manufacturers and large fleets.
What steps leading up to this? I mean, I assume this was a step that you've wanted to take for a long time, right? So did you have to model the business in a certain way? I mean, I wouldn't even know where to start to do that, and I'm sure a lot of people watching wouldn't. So I'm just curious to sort of how to build the last 2 years, getting to a place where when the right partner came along, it could actually be set up.
I think it's fair to say that I was probably fairly naive to the process itself.
Oh, really?
So it's been an awesome learning experience to go through. But we did realize that we wanted to make a public play, that we wanted to grow as a company, and seeing this opportunity. We talked about this, I think, the last time that we were on. I mean, our initial idea at ZeroNox was to help our local community, our local ag community in the advanced electric powertrain side. And then it opened up this world of opportunity where now we have global reach, and we just saw what a market opportunity that was. And so as we realized that, hey, we needed to grow, this was the way to do that. Now, in the past 12 to 18 months, capital and these opportunities have really kind of been on edge because of the economy.
Yeah.
And so recently, I'd say in the fall of 2022, opportunities started reopening again. And we had looked at the SPAC play just because of the opportunity that it had, and there were these SPAC companies who were specifically looking. I should mention a SPAC is a special purpose acquisition company.
Yeah, I was nodding like I knew. I didn't actually know what the term was, so I was like, okay.
And again, I didn't know what it was 3 years ago. So it's a blank check company that is looking for a target company in a specific industry. So in our case, they were looking for someone in the clean tech industry. So they're backed by a lot of investors. Who maybe want to look for that company that has an impact in emission reduction, et cetera.
Yeah.
And so that's the outlet that we were looking at. And in the fall of 2022, we started having those conversations with a few of these different SPAC potential partners. And we found one that we really liked. Going to what's this process like? I would say it's a lot like marriage, where there's the dating ahead of time, because you're like, I'm going to be with this person for a long time, so I better make sure that there's that mission alignment and that we like each other. And so that was certainly the case in this process, is like that. More like speed dating, I would say, because it began in the fall of 22. But
is it love at first sight, or is there really a process of? Because I'll actually back up a bit. I've learned in business that sometimes, this is very early days of sometimes the overly friendly people, it goes to a lot of nowhere. And you kind of got to work to get people that are really, and they're not always going to be the most exciting to talk to in that, but they do the work, and you have to really sort of take your time to get to know them. Again, just now going over to what you're doing, like that, is it kind of fireworks off the beginning, or is it really a feeling out process from both sides? And just in your case, I know it's different for different ones.
In our case, it was interesting. It was a love at first sight.
Was it?
We the first conversation that we had, I'd say really the first two conversations that we had with their team, we just, not only did we hit it off really well with their people,
like on a personal level.
On a personal level, exactly. But we started talking about the projects that we were doing. Our project in Ghana, and every project we brought up, they had some relationship or some connection to bring up, in their network as well. So it was just like, wow, like all these different connections that you have, all the projects that we have going on, and it right off the bat, I think we realized together that, hey, there's really something here.
Yeah.
And so, I would say especially after our second conversation with them, and we had talked with a few other SPAC partners, and great, there was a lot of great people, but it wasn't that same.
And could you tell that right away too? Like, was it pretty apparent quite quickly that these weren't a good fit? Or is that harder to tell?
Yeah, it was harder to tell. I wouldn't say they didn't feel like they weren't the right fit, but there wasn't the same excitement or the same connection that we had with the Growth for Good team. And so I remember getting off one of the calls, and Vaughn, the co-founder, the other co-founder, we're like, wow, this is exactly what we're looking for.
Right.
And for us, we started this company on the backs of our local community. So we don't have like, your institutional investors and VCs.
Yeah.
All of our shareholders were local ag business folks that we knew personally.
Right.
And so it was this whole process was it's much more personal for us, because it wasn't like we're looking to ride off into the sunset. It was, we're looking for another partner to bring in that shares the same values and convictions and vision that we have for the company and what we're doing. So that it was extra important to us that there was that fit in those ways.
Let's talk about our heavy industry tour, brought to you by Savannah Equipment, supplying mining equipment worldwide. We are heading to events across North America, Africa, and Australia, and filming episodes on location. Email us at info@crownsman.com to be part of our Crownsman's Heavy Industry World Tour. When you see the orange iron of a Ditch Witch machine out in the field, you can be sure of one thing: a job is getting done. As the leading manufacturer of underground construction equipment, Ditch Witch has been a catalyst of innovation for the industry since the day they were founded. And with a worldwide and world-class dealership network that features over 175 dealerships across the globe, this equipment is backed by the best. Learn more at ditchwitch.com. DMH manufactures CNC lathes for seal production, semi-finished materials for seal manufacturing, as well as machine seals. But they are much more than a seal manufacturer. They supply the technology for seal manufacturing in the form of machines, seal software, and tooling technology. Altogether, this allows the simple manufacturing of nearly every seal within the shortest amount of time. The products are also used in a wide range of industries such as mobile hydraulics, mining industry, heavy industry machinery, oil and gas, wind energy, renewable energy, aviation, food and pharmaceutical industry, transportation, and automotive industry. To learn more, you can visit them at dmh.at. Seal technologies of the future, already today.
What's the again, some of my experience is that when you're putting together a deal, there's sometimes a really good beginning, and then there's the end goal where you're trying to get to. You both kind of know that, but there'll sometimes be that moment of doubt. I guess that goes back to sounding like a relationship too. It's in this process, is there that sort of that bog down period where now we gotta peel back the numbers, we gotta look at exactly how this is going to shape up, and now it's kind of where the rubber meets the road, right? It's where you kind of see what the real people you're dealing with. It kind of showcases that.
Yes, definitely. They came to our facility in Porterville for a couple days and to do all the due diligence, that you do if one wants to do a merger like this. And certainly there was, peeling back the onion, and everyone has to see, what's going on. It's easy to kind of have a facade up front, right? And, hey, this is exactly what you want, right? And then when you peel that back, it's like, is this really what you want?
Yeah.
And so in our case, fortunately, as time went on and both sides were looking into the other and making sure it was the right fit, and that was the case. And I would say actually it actually got better. So as we continued to know more and more on our side, we felt more and more confident that,
right,
okay, this is exactly what we want. And I think that they felt the same way with us as well. Because, it is tough up front, really knowing what you're getting into. You really have to dig into the company or the people to find out.
And the way people dig and the way people share information is different. And it really is a sign of how well it does fit together.
Yeah, and this process is, you bring in lawyers. Now, my co-founder is a Harvard Law grad, so I'm used to dealing with lawyers, but I'm not used to, dealing with 12 lawyers at one time. And the due diligence process of putting something like this together is they look under every leaf. They know everything about you because, on the other side, they want to make sure there's no skeletons in the closet.
Yeah.
They want to make sure that, what we tell them is the truth. That is the technology real? Are the people legitimate? All those different aspects. We joked that, when we're going through these due diligence calls with these lawyers, they got down to what type of toilet paper, that we're using. I mean, there was nothing left unturned. And at the end of that process, what we realized was, we do have something here, and they know that we have something here, and they still want to move forward. We still want to move forward, and so that's when that I guess we'll say the marriage coming together was like, yep, this is the right thing.
So I wanted to actually just you said about peeling back the onion, and then circling back to earlier what I asked about is preparing. So were you preparing, knowing kind of what that they're going to ask about the toilet paper? Did you have a concept of what was coming once a deal like this was getting put together? And were you preparing for that? Or was it just about building a good company for them and being ready?
We knew some of what was going to be asked of us. Yeah. But we did not know to what extent the due diligence would go. And so I would say that we did some preparation, but more just in trying to be better as a business and growing as a business, putting certain processes in place that you need as you grow, especially as you want to grow into being a public company. So those things we were certainly working on, but definitely did not know, and glad that I didn't know how much work. It was going to be, again, since we're using the marriage analogy, it's kind of like way more work than you realize it's going to be, but also way better than you could have imagined. Right.
It's a different side of a business or a marriage or whatever it is. When you go to that level, it's bringing out a whole different thing that you don't even know exists, right? Looking back over the last few years, and it's nice because you've been on the show a couple of times. Can you reflect now on a couple key moments over the last couple of years where maybe not just you, but your business partner as well have made just really good decisions that you went, that was the right move. Maybe you didn't even 100% know it was the right move at the time, but you made those decisions that have gotten you to here.
I would certainly say the team that we grew, which maybe it hasn't been the most experienced team, but from the grittiness side, they just powered through and made this all happen. And to give you some examples of some of the things that we did, so the Tuatera, which is really kind of our flagship product, a utility vehicle, to bring that to fruition, I took a team over to New Zealand and pitched this idea of electrifying their product, in the dining room of of the manufacturer over there in New Zealand. And we landed that project, and that's really helped be the proof of concept for, hey, this is what we can bring to you as a manufacturer. And another example of that is we took a team to Ghana and pitched to them this idea of, hey, you have this large fleet of refuse trucks. What if we electrified the entire fleet? And so it was our willingness to get on a plane, go in front, pitch this idea, create a relationship. In person is always, it's just a different ask in person than a Zoom call or
it's just a different thing.
It is.
Yeah.
And I think that really resonated well with our partners, and they knew the lengths that we were willing to go to make sure that this was going to happen, and they believed in us executing it. So specifically those two, the Tuatera deal and the Ghana refuse truck deal, I think were huge markers, in the evolution of Zero Nox.
What's your background before this?
I wish I could say it was like engineering or something in the EV space, but it's really just a serial entrepreneur. Real estate, actually. I was a mortgage broker.
Oh, yeah.
I have some real estate investment companies, and I think I've started probably like 15 different businesses in my life. I just love the idea of starting a business and seeing it grow.
Yeah.
And so for me, coming together, this whole acquisition is kind of like bringing it all together, because we started Zero Nox at like nothing, right? So to see a company go from absolutely nothing, and then now we're going to be into a public company. It's kind of, for me, it's the perfect the perfect circle of life in a way.
Were there on those on the real estate side and that, you must use a lot of it though? I know it's a very sort of open-ended question, but how much of it are you using in a daily, the selling, working with people, all those skills that you develop in those environments?
100%. The relationship building. So my side of the business is product and business relationships development. And so all those skills that, I had learned in my past jobs, have come to help me. When I was straight out of college, trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, I had a mentor tell me, hey, you go do door-to-door sales and you'll be able to sell anything.
Yeah.
And so I had done that. And what's great about it is, with door-to-door sales, you got 100 no's to 5 yeses. That's the goal. So I just got to talk to 100 people a day to do my sales. That put me in a position where I have no problem, asking for the sale. And when you now here at Zero Nox, when I talk to a manufacturer or a large fleet about electrification, I don't think I've ever gotten a manufacturer say, no, we're not interested. So it's awesome that now on the sales side, it's a lot easier than then. But that experience that I had, previous has really helped me to build these relationships up and not be afraid to go and fly across the world and pitch,
just kind of knowing, you just kind of know what it takes. There's just no sort of question, right?
Yeah, you have to have that grittiness. You have to have that willingness, to pitch to someone and maybe they're going to say no, and that's just fine. Yeah. And to go to the next person.
Yeah.
But I think fear of failure is something that kind of can stymie growth.
Yeah.
And so in my own personal, business journey, it's been really helpful for me to these past jobs that it's helped, develop, the abilities to not worry about those things.
Yeah. Do you when you're dealing with, because I want to talk a little bit about sort of that global reach you're trying to develop, is it how much of the, you're not going to be able to give me an exact number, but how much of it is the value that you're bringing with the product offering, as opposed to the ability to build those relationships? And I am really curious about it, because you have such a valuable product that people need, they want. I mean, governments are pushing for companies to do it. Like there's so much behind it, a willingness, but yet you still have to kind of get through that door, build that trust. It's kind of an interesting thing you have to do.
It is, because all the stakeholders involved, you mentioned the governments, and businesses and corporations, the end consumer, they all want this, the electrification, cleaner technology, lower emissions. So that's why the market's so great, because everyone wants it. But what's interesting is, well, why can't we have more of it? Because you look at the investment going into it. It's very complicated. And so to answer your question, certainly it's part of it's the product, but it's also selling to the manufacturer. We're not just providing an electric powertrain platform for you. We're also creating, a support network. There's a lot of other solutions along the whole ecosystem of how do you deploy a fleet of electric equipment or vehicles, out into the mining or the ag or the construction industry. And so, renewable microgrids, like how's the infrastructure going to work to charge these things? The power management side of it.
Yeah.
Of course, the development side of and the design side of the powertrain itself, and the back end support. How do you train up this workforce? Because I think it's in the UK, something like 84% of their technicians are not properly qualified to safely work on EVs. So that's in the UK. If you think about the rest of the world, I'm sure it's even worse. Those are the type of solutions that we need to provide to our manufacturers. So when we go and establish this relationship, it's not just, I have this electric powertrain platform that will work for your application. It's, I want to partner with you, and here's the problems that you're going to have.
Right.
And here's how we are going to help you solve those problems.
Right.
And so it is a relationship, and because they have to believe you, they have to see that you've executed before, because once they partner with you, there's this stickiness, right? Because if they partner with us and then they throw 1,000 units out into the wild, they need to make sure that that the support's going to be there on the back end.
Dayquip specializes in the design and manufacturing of attachments for all makes and models of compact excavators, wheel loaders, crawl dozers, and articulated dump trucks. You can choose from any of their engineered attachments, or they can design and build to your specifications. All of their products can be shipped anywhere in North America, hassle-free. If you don't see it, just ask and they will build it. Check out their website, www.dayquip.com, or email them, info@dayquip.com, for sales, quotes, and support. Fender Dunlop Usflex belts are engineered to withstand the harshest applications, delivering benefits that solve customer problems via superior rip, tear, and impact resistance. Usflex are extremely strong and robust belts that are difficult to destroy, which is important for heavy-duty bulk material handling environments. Made in their very own North American manufacturing facilities, this revolutionary concept in straight warp conveyor belting is up to 3 times more impact resistant versus competitor belting. Usflex users use fewer belts per year, make fewer belt repairs and replacements, reduce or eliminate belt downtime, and improve employee safety. You can visit FenderDunlopAmericas.com to learn more about their premium Usflex conveyor belting. Introducing the SolarSet Fold. The new foldable frame solar system brings power to your residential and commercial property and can be shipped worldwide. Like all SolarSet products, the SolarSet Fold comes turnkey, pre-assembled, and is easily transported and installed. Learn more about SolarSet Fold and their full line of amazing solar systems at solarset.com.
So there's such an opportunity for scale for what you're doing, because you're integrating it into trying to existing fleets, right?
Correct.
So, like you brought up going to Ghana. Can you kind of? I think you actually talked about that on one of the other episodes a little bit, but I'd like to kind of explore it a bit more. Can you give us a little more insight into what that was for?
Absolutely. The original idea was we found this partner, the Jaspong Group. They're one of the largest and most diversified companies in Africa, and have something like 70 different subsidiaries. And their largest subsidiary is a company called Zoomlion that does refuse trucks in Ghana and some of the surrounding African countries. So they have a fleet of 2,000 of these refuse trucks. So we had pitched to them this idea of electrifying 1,000 of their fleet. And so we signed that contract last year to do that. And we actually have 3 of their trucks in our facility in Porterville, California.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we're going to be doing the pilot program in California and then ship those back to Ghana once they're complete. And then once the validation testing's done, then we will begin the mass orders, which will be over a 2-year period, 1,000 1,000 units. So what's great about that is, again, going to the partnership idea that I was mentioning. We're training up their technicians to actually do the e-kits. So certainly our team's going to be there to assist them, but 1,000 retrofits in 2 years is a huge ask. And so we're upskilling their workforce. We're actually building curriculum locally that we're going to be sending. Another one of the subsidiaries that Jaspong has is the Jaspong Academy. So we're actually providing an opportunity for their existing mechanics to upskill to a technician. And on top of that, they're going to use that same curriculum to train not just those mechanics internally, but they're going to offer that externally to other folks over in Ghana who want to have that workforce development. And so that's a big part of the process is coming up with those solutions. The infrastructure side, helping them set up, the charging infrastructure and tying it to renewable power, because you got to make sure that the power that you're that's coming in is coming from a clean grid. Right. So yeah, those are some of the items that we're working with them on.
And so what made it a good fit for them? What was that value add? Is it based on the power sources they have? What sort of set it all up?
They want to be the face of clean technology in Africa, and this was a way for them to start. Their refuse trucks, from an emission standpoint, had such a huge impact in all of Ghana, and so it was a good place to begin this transition. And so that's why they decided that they wanted to move forward with it. We actually signed a memorandum of understanding. We're going to be creating a joint venture with them to distribute other electric vehicles and charging stations and renewable microgrids throughout Ghana and Africa. But that all started with this first electrification project. Wow. And so they saw an opportunity to be the first mover, in the Ghana market and even in Africa, and then use that to really jetson into something larger and do something in the whole of Africa.
So are they, let's say someone's watching this episode now, what is this, what can they expect? If you're, I don't know, but let's say you've got some fleet in one of in US or Canada, and you're looking, what is this sort of expectation that they should have coming in from that initial conversation that they're going to have with you?
When you think about wanting to electrify, everyone's for cleaner technology, obviously. Right. But you have to think about the performance and the economics. Those are the other 2 points that when you talk about, real sustainability, that have to be brought up. So in the case of people with large fleets, the economics can be there, right? Because they have existing equipment. You don't want to necessarily buy a brand new EV because you have working equipment. Right. And so swapping out that existing powertrain to electric, and in the case of the Jaspong group, I think it was something like a 2-year return on investment, which is incredible. So for fleets to have, say, a 2 to 3 year ROI, the economics are there. And then the performance aspect, you've got to make sure that it's designed to fit the duty cycle of what you're doing. Right. Yeah. And so most fleets, their equipment is doing the same thing in different locations. Yeah. And so to partner with a Zero Nox, we can design a powertrain that fits their precise needs. So it makes sense from cleaner, higher performing, cost effective. And that's why a fleet's going to do it. It has to make sense in all 3 categories.
Right. Is it, when you're talking, what is an example of a company, not the specific company, of course, but a company that, why do they say no? If they are saying no, or why do they delay it? Is it, if all those line up, are most of them going, or is there still just because it's new, do you still sort of run into that where they're trying to figure out, even if the ROI is there on paper, just sort of that real world application for a company that's got a large fleet? It's just a huge undertaking, I guess. Is that a roadblock of just the pure undertaking that they'd have to do?
I don't know that the undertaking itself is the roadblock. I do think is this the right time? Because we see how quickly innovation's happening. Right. So they want to make sure that they don't get something and it gets left behind, next
Right.
year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's that aspect to it. There's are we actually capable of supporting this in the back end? I mean, that's a real worry for a fleet or a manufacturer. Everyone has mechanics that fix a problem by turning a wrench, and then all of a sudden you introduce electric powertrain and it's 80% software issues. It's just a different animal, and so there is anxiety around that.
Right.
So I think that's more where the anxiety is. I think everyone knows it's going to happen. Then there's are we going to do this internally? Are we going to try and bring in the expertise internally, or are we going to try and partner with like a ZeroNox to make it happen? It's hard to do it internally because most of their engineering is built around mechanical engineering.
Right.
EVs are that combination of hardware and software, right?
Yeah, right.
Most manufacturers just don't have that in house, and so it's a tall order to try and make it happen that way, which is why we feel like we're in a great position to be their partner.
What about the OEMs partnering up with them?
Exactly, that's where we want to be, and we realize
like
that
ultimately should be a driving force behind the company then.
Yes, that's our play. How do we get market share? It's partnering with manufacturers who already have market share.
Yeah.
We want to be like the Intel inside, or the Cummins that everyone's using.
Right.
They're powered by ZeroNox on the side of their equipment. That's absolutely the end goal of what we're doing.
So an OEM, what is their adoption process going to be like? Because I'm guessing it's different, obviously, than integrating into an existing fleet. What would they have to go through to really actually adopt that into their product line?
So we try to make it as seamless as possible to get into their existing manufacturing process. So as long as we design the system to fit within the volume constraints of their piece of equipment or vehicle, we just become another component supplier in a lot of ways.
Right.
So when we do the initial designs, we take their CAD and rip out the internal combustion engine. Now we know what the volume constraints are that we have to deal with,
right,
so that they don't have to completely retool their manufacturing process to bring it to market. And that's an intentional strategy that we have, because we don't want necessarily a purpose-built new EV in the sense of they're redesigning their entire piece of equipment. We want to work within the constraints that they already have, so we can help bring that electric version to market as quickly as possible without disrupting their existing manufacturing process.
Right. Is that when you're having those conversations, how does it compare to, let's say, 2 years ago, 3 years ago? Is it continuing to ramp up? Like even, I don't know, like when did the Prius come out? That was 15 years ago, maybe, or so. And then, within 5 years, they're just all over the road. And then it's sort of escalated from there, Tesla and all these, now there's an EV truck and all that sort of thing. So is that appetite still carrying that momentum, do you find, in your space?
Absolutely. I think there's a statistic, something like 52% of car buyers want an EV. So, and less than 1% of the actual car market right now is selling an EV. So you can see that there's a huge demand and a lack of actually being able to supply what's desired. I think the same is true on the off-road side, and obviously that's what we focus on. I do think it's a little bit more difficult going back to the ecosystem, because infrastructure is being deployed, say in the United States, on even the government is assisting and helping set up charging stations all over the place. Those types of things are a lot more far along than you talk about in the off-road side. How do we have a mobile renewable microgrid to be charging these things in the field, or in a mine, etc. So there's some considerations there that where innovation needs to come through and help us out, and that's something that we're working on at ZeroNox. But those are some of the solutions that we have to help our manufacturers with to help get them over the line, because the consumers, they want it, but they also need the solution, which isn't necessarily there yet.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we go hunting and that, and we take our side by sides and that, and we would love to have they're quiet. So we'd really like to have them for other reasons. But you're up in the mountains. So it's like if you're up there for a week, okay, you're doing a generator up to power them. And, so what do you think, like on that off-road side, like take them out in the mountains do you think there is a solution there that at some, it'll be like merged with like a certain RV that's got solar on the top? Like how do you eventually get to that, do you think? I mean, I'm talking, obviously it's a ways out, but.
Exactly. I think that application is a little bit farther out.
Yeah.
I think that the application that should be focused on are the duty cycles that are consistent.
Right.
Because that's what is best in electric. Like
right.
if we know, you're using it, 12 hours a day, what exactly you're doing with it, then
and multi-unit, so you're on a cycle and all that sort of stuff.
Exactly. And you can build to fit, but if you're using it 4 hours 80% of the time, and then 20% of the time you use it 20 hours, it's really hard to build a efficient system to fit that duty cycle.
Right.
And so in the case that you brought up with using as a hunting utility vehicle, being gone for a week, well, if you do that twice a year, it doesn't make economic sense.
Right.
So
but it would be really, really quiet though.
Right.
So these cycles, are you? I guess that's the other thing though, is you will, if someone was adopting the fleet, then like you said earlier, you're actually you're working with them to develop that plan. I would imagine, right?
Exactly right. We want to understand what is it that this thing needs to do so that we can build it as efficiently as possible, because the largest cost of an electric powertrain is the battery. So if we can cut the battery size in half and you can fast charge this on an hour break, for instance, it's going to have real repercussions when you look at return on investment and the economics behind it. So we really have to understand what the actual use of the vehicle or piece of equipment is in order to provide either the manufacturer or the fleet, with the best option.
I'll just wrap it up here. So what was it like for your team, this merger and announcing that? I know there's some steps still, but just when the team, I mean, everybody, I know you've had a few people that have kind of been there from the beginning. What was that sort of feeling like, sharing that with and people sort of seeing this vision of the company sort of coming to fruition?
Tons of excitement.
Yeah.
Certainly from those stakeholders, whether they were employees or investors from the beginning, to see us come to this point.
Were a lot of them still with you?
All of them.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. And so it was great to get like those text messages like, wow, I can't believe that this actually, worked out. So I'm like, I know that's a good thing if you had the faith in me, but so it was incredible though, to the excitement. So from our team of employees, understanding, wow, all this hard work, paid off. And it's not that, it's not the end of the journey. It's just opened up the ability to do way more than we could have before. And so there's that excitement. And then the same thing for our shareholders. No one's looking to make a quick exit.
Yeah.
They're just excited of the growth potential that this is offering us.
Mm-hmm. Do you, what does the next year look for you professionally? What does it look? What do you need to focus on over the next year, next 2 years on the company?
Specifically execution. If you look at the next 12 months for us, we have 3 to 4 pilot projects that we're currently working on. And once those get validated, then the mass orders can begin. So from an execution standpoint, it's all about executing on those pilot programs, showing that they can do what we said that they could do. And then those partners, whether it's the large fleet at Despong or one of our OEM partners, then they're going to begin to integrate that into their existing process and product lineup. So execution.
Right. Well, in our next I think our next episode is going to be in Africa, right? Isn't it? No.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, Robert. Thank you very much for coming on.
A pleasure.
Good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for watching. It's great doing these episodes of the event, and it's great, like we said, Robert and we haven't actually met in person, so it's great to do it like this. And please keep watching. Thank you for supporting us. We'll have lots of links to ZeroNox if you want to know more or connect with their team. Thank you for watching. We'll see you on the next episode of The Construction Show.